Thank you very much. We are back again. The first thing I want to say is thank you. Thank you so much. You guys have really humbled us. 1,000 subscribers in a week, over 20,000 views. Hapo mmetesa kabisa. We are very, very grateful. I am personally very grateful and for just the confidence in that you guys are actually willing to listen to what I have to say. Today I want to start with something that has been hot of late. The conversation about what it is that happened. Why would a government that was in power lose an election the way we lost the one in a couple of months ago? I think if you were to summarize that into one sentence, we completely overestimated ourselves and we completely underestimated RUTO and his capacity to run this campaign. And you see that towards the end, the finishing, how much further he was willing to go, how much harder he was willing to go. I guess he was hungrier for this thing than we were. I think there was a lot of complacency and also that vibe of governments don't lose elections, which shouldn't have happened because then we'd already lost a couple of by-elections. We should have learned. We kept saying we were learning. I know we said we were learning from Juja. I know we said we were learning in Nyandarua. I know we said we were learning after Kiambaa happened. But clearly, we didn't actually learn the whole lesson. And RUTO took advantage of that. And that is why we had the kind of output we had. So when I see some of my former colleagues, especially guys in Azimio, pointing fingers, one of the things I also want to say is there was a lot of failure also from the Raila strongholds. You look at the kind of turnout that Nyanza had. We would have expected them to get to 75%. 80% when Uhuru was running both times. Mount Kenya had close to 90% turnout. Had that kind of turnout happened in Nyanza, in the western region of the country, I don't know what kind of results we would have had, but they certainly would have been better. And with a 200,000 vote margin, you never know. So anyway, these are the results we have. William Ruto is the president we have, and we're going to have to figure out how to fit and work within the reality that we have today. But in reality, as I said, we overestimated government and deep state and the system, and we underestimated the capacity that Kenya Kwanza brought to the equation. Something else I'd like us to talk about is this issue of criticism. One of the feedbacks I'm getting, I've been following the comments on this clip from last week, and you keep hearing people talking about, oh, mtu anatafuta kazi. If you give a recommendation, if you sound positive about government, if you're negative, I don't know why there's an expectation that if you're not in a government, the only thing you have to say is bad things. I think if we're going to grow this country, we have to learn how to be objective. If a government is doing something well, we need to be able to say they're doing something well. Remember, this government belongs to all of us. Whether you voted for it or not, this is our government. It's going to be the only government we have for the next 4.5 years, God willing. So I think I really, really want to urge all of us. And this is something I say both to the Kenya Kwanza supporters. If you see government doing something wrong, you should be able to say. To the Azimio side, if you see government doing something right, you should be able to say. This thing of looking like when you go in front of a television, in front of the media, or when you speak politics, somebody is able to know what you're going to say just because of where you are, I think is wrong. We are all free-thinking people. You should be able to stand up and say, this government has done a good job here. This government is failing here. This government can improve here. Because you're a Kenyan, you know, and most of us are not in the government. Our work is to criticize it objectively, constructively, and I think we're going to go quite far. And on that aspect of criticizing, let me start with the positive ones. I said last week we haven't done 100 days. So it's really, really hard to justifiably evaluate this government and be able to say they have failed. And some of the things that they are doing well that we didn't expect. For example, the president has done several trips out of the country, several international trips. And there was this vibe that because of how strong the foreign policy that Uhuru Kenyatta had was, there was a feeling that RUTO might not be able to catch up and keep up with that particular foreign policy vibe. I think everybody expected that RUTO be very strong with local domestic issues, but not as strong with foreign policy. But clearly he has understood this foreign policy business. If you see how he's balancing the East and the West, you know, recently we saw Russia sending best wishes during our national celebrations. Now we see him in the West balancing. He speaks well. So he's really able to handle the Queen's language and make a very impressive case. I think the only problem, and now this is where the criticism on the other side comes in, is we really don't get to know what he's doing. I think there's a failure around the communications around the president when he travels out of the country. We see him in pictures, we see him hanging out with people. You really don't get to understand what was he doing with this group. Why was he doing a small meeting with this group? Why is he in a big meeting with this group? What exactly has he come back with to the country? I think on this one, I'd like to urge the communications people around the president, you need to educate us, you need to inform us a lot more comprehensively when the president travels out. And we will be able to build up and be able to work with him, because when he goes out, it's us he's representing. So if he's able to do that, if we're able to get that information when he travels, I think we'll be very happy. We come back to our local politics. I think right now what we are watching is how everybody seems to be running away from Azimio. I saw my colleagues from Kiambu do a press conference and say now they are working with the president. I'm seeing the imploding that seems to be happening in Kanu. What can I say? I think first, a lot of the people, I remember listening to Chris Kirwa, not Chris Kirwa, the former minister who had been an official, Mheshimiwa Kirwa. He was a member of UDA, and then near the end he moved to Azimio, and I remember he was received by Martha, and he was on TV recently, and he was very candid. He said, look, I didn't join Azimio to go to opposition. I joined Azimio because I believed it was going to form the next government. And I think for a lot of people, why we're seeing the kind of disassociation with Azimio is because most people who joined Azimio because they thought it was going to form government. Now it hasn't formed government, you don't know how to operate within the opposition spaces. You look at KANU, I don't know, except the time when KANU lost in 2002, I think KANU has done everything it can not to operate in opposition spaces. I don't know how Jubilee would operate in opposition spaces. So the disassociation with Azimio is not specific. I think it's just that thing of how do we operate in this space. Recently, we had this conversation about when Raila called for what we call public consultations. I mean, everybody had their own view of what that means. And we saw Jubilee very quickly dissociate itself. We saw KANU dissociate itself. What does that mean? We don't know. A lot of the people who are in Azimio expected to win the election. And once Azimio lost, they don't know what to do about it. So I suspect that at the end of this process, what we're going to be left with is ODM within the opposition benches. And I suspect that Azimio, because already President RUTO has been very clear that he's going to do quite a bit of evangelizing and ministry to reach out to people and bring them into government. I suspect that is what we're going to see in coming days. So I don't think Kenyans should be shocked. Most people go into politics to win. Most people go into politics to be in government. And once you find yourself outside government, you find a way of getting into government. Because also only through government are you able to actually add value and deliver to people. However, opposition is also a useful place to be if you can be an objective and issue-based opposition. The problem we have is a lot of our opposition has been you oppose whatever government has done. And you use that as a platform to build yourself. It doesn't matter whether it's doing the right thing or the wrong thing. I mean, like I was thinking about this thing that Eliud Owalo is doing of setting up Wi-Fi in markets. It's a brilliant idea. I mean, when you think about the people who go to the market, if you had free Wi-Fi, it means that Mama Mboga, if she can be educated, because now that's a follow-through that this government is not doing. Last week I talked about the Hustler Fund, brilliant idea, no follow-through. Now we have the Wi-Fi in the markets. Brilliant idea. What's the follow-through for that one? Please have somebody go to the market and educate people how they can use online to build their business. How a Mama Mboga can set up a WhatsApp group where she can be of her clients. Now WhatsApps can go up to 500 people. Can you imagine if a Mama Mboga has 500 people in a group and she's able to update them every single morning about what she has? Niko na mboga, niko na kitunguu ya hii pesa. What she's going to do, she's going to build up that market to a point where people will be coming to her, not just to look at what she has. They'll be coming to her because they know what she has. So if you're going to give markets free Wi-Fi, please follow through. Go into that market as government, because government has people who can train, organize training sessions, short training sessions, do some paperwork, some brochures. Let somebody know this is how you use free Wi-Fi to build your business in the market. But the idea of free Wi-Fi in market, good idea, if it can be followed through. We will not be doing this long one. So I'm going to try and wrap this up by coming back down to our local politics. I told you I'm going to do everything I can to help Rigathi Gachagua as he continues to implement and to run, to support the president to run the government. And part of that is being able to point out positives. Negatives nitamwambia peke yake. Positives, I'm going to put them over here. And one of the things I must say that he has done, he had worried us a bit at the beginning when he said that Hii serikali itakuwa watu ya Kenya Kwanza, and then only after all the Kenya Kwanza people have fitted will they start thinking about the other people. He's since changed that position. You see somebody who is doing everything he can to reach out to people who are not necessarily in this government. You hear him, as much as he does it in his own way, there's a way he does it and you're left wondering, okay, was that a compliment or it was a cut? But he's out there talking to people and telling them, look, let's work together. He's reaching out to people. I know he's reached out to a lot of my colleagues in Mount Kenya region around this promise he gave of trying to reach out to people by the 31st. I urge him and all the other people who are in government. This country is one. And we must learn that after every election, the first thing the new government should do is deliberately go out of its way to reach out to the people who are on the other side and bring them on board. If we can do that every time we do an election, so that we are all moving forward, first, the resistance will be less. Second, the support of new government will be higher. And remember, every new government is going to make mistakes. So if you reduce the hostility by reaching out to people and be magnanimous in victory, then it's going to, your work is going to be easier, even as you make your mistakes and as you settle down your government. So congratulations. We keep waiting. I suspect we'll not do another political conversation before the new year. So I want to wish everybody happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Please be careful, drive safe. Wale wanakunywanga na si chai, tafadhali please drink responsibly. Let's remember January is coming. We have 2 weeks and then January is here. School fees is high. We're going to be taking people to new grades. Please be careful. But let's enjoy this season. And as a Christian, I want to tell you, let's remember the reason for this season. The reason for this season is not just eating chapati and mbuzi. But kama mnatafuta mbuzi, hapa Ruare, we have good choma. And now we're actually doing deliveries for a full mbuzi. So please reach out to us if you're around us, and we'll be able to do that mbuzi to you. Meanwhile, Merry Christmas again, Happy Holidays. See you in the new year, God willing. Asanteni sana.